Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Kneon. I'm here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello.
Another day, another Last of Us 2 video.
It just won't go away.
Now, we actually didn't do any Last of Us 2 videos for a couple days. I did one last night, and I thought that that was going to be it for a while, because I'm like, there's really not a whole lot of news going on regarding this game. But this came up last night that there's some shenanigans going on regarding the review process of this game. And we're going to talk about that, but before
and the post is removed.
Oh, the poster was removed. That's okay. I got the article.
There you go.
I got the article. So before we get into it, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. We're almost 125,000 subs, hoping for more. Want to get to like 200.
That'd be nice.
Then we want to get to like 1 million.
That's
and then
right.
we want to get to 2 million. And then we want to get to 200 million. Twice as many as PewDiePie.
World domination. Well, I don't think that's going to happen.
That's
World domination.
That's never going to happen, but it's good to have goals.
That's right.
Because if you have goals, you're pointing your bow and arrow toward the sky, and you're likely to hit something instead of like putting it down in the dirt, pointing it down.
Okay.
So we want to aim for the sky.
That's right.
Might
Okay, now you just took way too long to ask for subs. Can we just go on?
Yeah, let's talk about this. So people have been speculating that there are some shenanigans going on regarding the reviews for The Last of Us, because audiences are split. They're like, it's not that good. Now it's actually sitting at 4.9. It was down like a 3. And they're like, oh, it's review bombing. It's like, well,
I'm sure that's a review bombed either way.
in some cases, yeah, because you had people reviewing the game that clearly didn't have time to play it. But now that people are playing it, even they're like, you know, maybe it's not the worst game ever, but it sure as hell isn't the best game ever. A lot of people are calling it, you know, including PewDiePie, it's a pretty mess. It's a good looking game. It's got some merit, but the storyline was bullshit, and a lot of the choices were bullshit, and it's depressing as hell. So this seems to be going down like The Last Jedi, where you had all the critics loved it and the audience was split on it. And it seemed kind of weird that like every critic loved The Last Jedi, right? Sometimes I think the critics love it just to stick it to the audiences. But regarding The Last of Us Part 2, there were only two major outlets I could think of that had a negative review of it. One was Vice and one was Polygon.
Okay.
Surprisingly. Because
that is surprising.
You'd think that Vice and Polygon, given their I guess, political leanings and their tastes, would have eaten this game up, but they were like, yeah, it's really dark and it's really objectively not very good. Well, this is a very interesting development because Vice was actually contacted by Sony. Sony had concerns about their review.
Yeah, concerns, which means we don't like your review. Why aren't you falling in line?
And who wrote about them being contacted by Sony? But Polygon, the other outlet.
They probably got contacted too, but then wrote about Vice's
Right. So this got put on Reddit, and then the post was removed.
Oh, surprise! It's like all the videos that got removed, all the tweets that got people banned because they made a meme tweet or whatever.
Yep.
And it's like they're the way they're trying to censor the hell out of this is just blowing up in their face because it's just pissing people off.
Well,
You're making it worse.
That's it. And Polygon, so they're actually kind of doubling down, and they're talking about
go Polygon.
I never thought I'd hear anybody say that. Go Polygon, but here they used to be reputable. Once upon a time, Polygon was actually reputable. Maybe they're trying to fight to get their reputation back.
They don't like it when people tell them there's something wrong with them if they don't like it, and they have to have the same opinion because they said so.
Yeah.
They don't like that. Like everybody's been doing to people like us for years.
They don't like it. So Polygon, because they were probably on the receiving end of this too, put an article out last night. The Last of Us Part 2 has become a minefield. And they're talking about how the developers, the critics, and the fans are butting heads over one of the year's biggest games. A lot of money is at stake. Anytime a lot of money is at stake, we run into this situation again, like The Last Jedi. The future of the Star Wars franchise depended on that movie.
Right. So when people didn't like it, then people were sent after those people, whether it be calling them names or trying to discredit people who didn't like it in some way. And the media outlets were called in to toe the line. Well, now a couple of outlets are being treated the way the Last Jedi fans were. Well, not the fans, the ones who called it out were being treated.
Yeah, and in this case, there's a lot riding on the game. Not just this particular game, but also Naughty Dog's reputation.
And then they have a movie spinoff.
There's a TV show coming up, and the PS5, because, again, PS5 is going to play PS4 games, so this game could sell potentially for years. And if, The Last of Us, which has been a very well regarded, or at least the first game was very well regarded, is a potential franchise, if this game winds up being like The Last Jedi, then this franchise is dead in the water. The fans aren't going to like it. And there's a lot of behind the scenes drama. It all comes down to money. There's so much money at stake over this game that everybody's going into overdrive to try to control any negative opinions. But
unfortunately, what they're trying to squeeze and control, all it's done is just put more people off.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's it. And here's another example. And we're going to talk about just our own experiences working in media. We can talk about the Disney side of things, working as theme park bloggers, and how maybe they don't threaten you, but sometimes you will get concerned emails.
Yes, we have concerns.
We have concerns. That's what happened here. They said the vibe around the game hasn't gotten much better since its release. On June 12th, Vice published its review of The Last of Us Part 2, in which critic Rob Zacny said that while the game had memorable moments that made for great spectacle, he was less taken with the story and characters. Nobody ever reconsiders their quest for vengeance, he wrote. Everyone acts under a kind of vindictive compulsion that goes a little remarked and unexamined. Zacny went on to describe the game's message as complacent, full of oppressive bleakness and violence. I've heard that a lot.
Yeah, we've heard that from many people. It's pretty, but the characters aren't that great. The story's not that great.
Yeah, it's very dark. It's depressing. And right now, with everybody being in quarantine and everything else going on in the world, do you really want to,
Well, of course they didn't know that when they made the game that was going to happen. I mean, if I'm being fair.
Yeah. So the vast majority of reviews have lavished The Last of Us Part 2 with all sorts of praise. A handful of outlets, including Polygon, have been slightly more critical of the blockbuster. According to Zacny, Vice's review prompted a Sony representative to reach out on behalf of Naughty Dog. They felt some of the conclusions I reached in my review were unfair and dismissed some meaningful changes or improvements, Zacny told Polygon over Twitter messages. So the two major gaming review sites, well, Vice is more than that, but Polygon and Vice were dissenting voices, and they got concerned emails from Sony.
Right, and it's like, it's bullcrap. Basically, tell us what your opinion is. Give us your fair opinion, but we don't want your fair opinion. We want your skewed opinion that benefits us. It would be a real shame if you don't get any more games to try out from us, wouldn't it?
Yes, it'd be a real shame if Sony didn't advertise on your site anymore.
Yeah, that would be a real shame.
So he clarified, and we'll talk about this because we've been on the receiving end of this. Zacny clarified that the exchange wasn't confrontational, but it was nonetheless unusual, as the site doesn't typically have big publishers asking in an official capacity why a review reads the way it does. Such things can happen, of course, though often with smaller developers or from publishers who have spotted a factual error in a piece they want corrected. I was happy to unpack a bit of my reasoning, however, and received a perfectly cordial message in response. Naughty Dog's PR team declined to comment on Polygon's inquiry about its exchange to Vice. This happens. Now, those of you who have been following the channel for some time know that we used to run another theme park blog with a partner. That's a whole nother...
Yeah, now it's run by a Muppet.
Now it's run by a Muppet, but we're not going to get into the specifics of that. But what we can tell you is we were on Disney's approved media list. And silly me, I thought when you were media... you were supposed to give honest opinions of what you thought of things. And you were supposed to give unbiased reviews and whatever. And I found that in exchange for getting early access to going to events and stuff like that, the expectation was everything had to be wonderful. And, I found out firsthand with when I went to the Toy Story Land preview. Put an article up, and I actually gave Toy Story Land a pretty good review. I said, it's really freaking hot, though.
Yeah, and it was.
It was really hot. There were no umbrellas at the time. There are now. But at the time, it was like, yeah, it's cute. It's going to hold people over until they get Star Wars open. But I said it's really freaking hot because I was there at 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon in the Florida heat in the middle of summer, and I was dying. I almost threw up on the roller coaster because that was so damn hot. Now, I thought that was fine. I gave it like a B+. No. We heard. We got through the grapevine that, no, Disney, they've got concerns. Could you be a little less negative?
And it's like, but here's the thing. As somebody who does critiques, somebody who does, we do criticisms and critiques, you cannot just give positive things. a good critique would be you give something. You have to find something, at least something that can be improved upon. That's what you're supposed to do. Like, you can give a bunch of good things, but you should have at least one thing to improve upon. Just like if you're going to give something a negative review, you should at least give something that's a positive with it, so it's not all negative. When I was a teacher, we used to get our they would come in and review you, review your performance review, and I remember the one I got, and all the person said was everything was great, except I should not say guys. I should say guys and girls or boys and girls. Because, hey, guys, how's it going? No, you have to say guys and gals or boys and girls. And that was the only thing he found wrong with me. And I told my one teacher friend, she's like, that's all he found wrong? And I'm like, yeah, because I guess he was really critical. But he still had to find something. You're required to find something to improve upon. So you found something to improve upon, which they did turn around and improve upon later, because a lot of people complained about it after Kneon did. He told them there was an issue. Bunch of guests complained. Then they fixed it.
Yeah.
But, I mean, the thing is, he gave a good review, but he did point out where they needed to improve. And then they had to improve that later, but they were still mad about it.
Now they have umbrellas.
Yeah, they went and added them because the guests complained.
Umbrellas.
And if they had just listened in the first place, and then it would have been okay. But no, they had concerns because it wasn't an A+.
Yeah.
How dare you?
It's got to be A++ ultra. A+++++. And that's it. And because it's money. It's money. This is big money. These AAA game releases are like movie premieres now. And again, this is why you saw drama around The Last Jedi. It's why you saw drama around Captain Marvel. Dissenting voices, dissenting fan opinion can potentially tank a franchise, tank Star Wars, tank the MCU. And the reason they've gone into overdrive, against YouTubers is YouTubers are free agents. They're not part of the understood relationship that the media has with studios or developers or whatever, because it is a case of, Sony could absolutely withhold advertising dollars.
Right. So what do they do instead? They try to get channels struck. They try to get people struck on Twitter. They act in very underhanded ways. They behave badly because they're trying to control the narrative. And all it's done is make people hate them more.
Yeah, so what's riding on beyond The Last of Us Part 2 is the PS5. Because they've, there's been some kind of mixed feelings about the PS5 now. They're like, okay, the games look pretty amazing. But there was some criticism about, Miles Morales not getting his own full game. There's criticism about a game that people were saying looks really, really woke. There was criticism about Grand Theft Auto 5. It's like, come on, this game is years old. Why are we bringing it out again? And they need the PS5 to perform well. And if people have bad feelings about Sony and Naughty Dog being one of Sony's own studios, then that might impact the sales of the PS5.
I love how Naughty Dog didn't contact them. They made Sony go and
their PR flack.
Yeah.
Neil Druckmann's not going to write an email.
It's beneath him.
That's because he's too busy striking YouTube channels.
Well, he's too busy getting pissed off, but people making comments about him. He doesn't like it. Yeah,
so this is absolutely going to hurt The Last of Us going forward as a TV show, as a game franchise, and when you've got it coming out that they've got concerns. But I'm not surprised. We've lived this. We understand. Everybody talks about the access media and all that, but a lot of people talking about it have never actually been a part of it. And it is expected by some companies, not all, but by many companies, that you don't shit where you eat. If they're giving you access and they're giving you ad dollars and they're inviting you to events, you're not going to take a steaming dump on whatever it is that they're promoting.
And just like this, they didn't come out and say they couldn't say what they wanted to say, but it was implied. That's the same thing. They don't come out and say. They say that it should be unbiased, but that's not what they want.
It sure would be a shame. It sure would be a shame if oopsie doopsie, we forgot to put you on the list for review copies. It would be a shame, oopsie doopsie, if we were putting together our ad budget for next year and we forgot your website. It'd be a shame if when we have a party at the next convention, gaming convention, that, at PAX or whatever, we forgot to invite you.
And who runs all that stuff? The PR department. Who contacted this person?
PR department.
There you go.
Yeah, that's how this works. We get it. And these journalists get it. A lot of people are like, well, they're sellouts. I'm like, yeah, but they're also trying to keep their jobs. That it goes with the territory. It's like, if there's no more ad revenue and there's no more access, then their site shrivels up. And right now, these sites are fighting to survive because the ad revenues disappear.
But it's absolute bullcrap that they aren't allowed to be honest in their reviews. I mean, if you're giving out on companies, I'm telling you this, if you're giving out copies of games or copies of whatever, and you want people to review them, then expect fair reviews. I mean, it's bullcrap. People can't give you their opinions because you don't like it. Just understand, some people aren't going to vote the way you want because, you can't control everyone.
Yeah, so let's talk about this and just some of the other ways that maybe the system is kind of gamed. We've touched on this a little bit in comics and talking about sales. And everybody's crowing about how, The Last of Us sold, a ton of copies or whatever. But then we have other people saying that it's sitting on the shelves and it's, people are dumping their used copies off at GameStop or whatever. So what could maybe possibly maybe be going on here when there's a lot of money involved? And we can look at publishing, New York publishing, which including books and graphic novels and stuff like that. There are ways that the sales charts and the numbers can be gamed.
Yes.
And it's to a company's or publishers or studios' advantage to game the system because it's that fear of missing out. Oh my God, that book sold out of its first printing. Oh my God, it's on the New York Times bestseller list.
Right.
And I think the same thing works with games, with movies. We thought Disney. Well, they pretty much had proof that there were seats that were considered sold for Captain Marvel, and there was nobody in them. Yes.
I mean, come on. Why would it be any different of a reach to think that some of the gaming numbers would be, massaged as well?
When there's millions and millions and millions of dollars on the line, don't put it past any company to resort to whatever trick they have to resort to make it look like the game's a success.
Here's the thing too. They had a bunch of pre-orders, but a lot of people canceled their pre-orders. But that doesn't mean they have to take the cancellations off the pre-order numbers. At one point, they were pre-ordered. I could totally see that. That kind of happens, I think, with digital comics too. But in terms of publishing, there's an article from years ago on the New York Observer. And we've talked about this article before in regards to comics, but they basically talk about how the publishing industry is gamed and how once you get inside that system, which we were actually a part of that system for a little while. We've been a part of a lot of things.
Once you're inside,
because we don't play by the rules.
Yeah, we don't play by the rules,
so that's why we're still here.
So we're in our own little corner on YouTube now. But once you get inside that system, it's understood that to get a book on the New York Times bestseller list, you might have to hire firms, and there literally are firms that buy books from the right booksellers, and it's considered part of your PR budget. They go out to the right, because not every bookseller counts toward the New York Times bestseller list. Certain ones. And then even if you buy enough books, the New York Times bestseller list was curated. So you had to know the right people. So these PR firms, they handle book promotion, would go out and buy the books from the right places, and then kind of saddle on up to the New York Times tastemakers to make sure your book got on the list. Why spend thousands of dollars to get your book on the list if you're a publisher or an independent author? Because it leads to more sales.
Why do you think that the internet had a meltdown, the comics internet had a meltdown when they weren't counting graphic novels anymore in their separate category? They had to compete head to head with books, like regular prose books. They weren't allowed to have their special, edge by just being only comic books. There's a reason why they had such a hissy, because they're going to have to be expected to compete with everyone. Of course, it's easy to be number one in graphic novels when there aren't a whole lot to compete with. So that's why they were so upset and pissed off, because they couldn't just park at the top of the bestsellers list when they didn't earn it.
Yeah, and Scholastic, that's why they
had almost all the top.
Yeah, Scholastic was game, because Scholastic, we know, again, firsthand, that internally at Scholastic, the Scholastic Publishing Company does not think much of graphic novels. So I believe the people who are putting the graphic novels out probably have to make a damn good case for why these graphic novels need to exist.
This is kind of people who actually worked in the graphic novel department at Scholastic that we know.
Yeah, we actually have friends that used to work for graphics, and they said that, they had to constantly justify their existence. So what better way to justify your existence than to be able to throw a New York Times bestseller blurb on the cover of the book and be like, look, our books have been parked on the New York Times bestseller list for like 2 years now. Well, yeah, because again, you're dealing just with graphic novels and you've learned how to game the system.
Right. It's like getting handicaps in golf. You're getting all these handicaps, you know, to win, and you aren't actually winning anything.
But it does lead to more sales because it's top of mind. What's out this week? Oh, let's look at the list. These must be popular because look, it's been number one for, 2 months or whatever. And it's that fear of missing out and sort of the fake it until you make it. Do I believe that The Last of Us sold really well? Well, with all the buzz, positive and negative, yeah, I'm sure initially it did.
Especially if they were blocking the negative.
Yeah. And they were blocking the negative, and they knew that. They knew the leaks were going to kill the buzz for the game. So they had to silence it because, again, we're talking millions of dollars on the line. Millions of dollars on the line.
And like The Last Jedi, the sales went...
Once people actually got to play the game and they're like, oh my god, the leaks are all right. And this happened with Rise of Skywalker, too. Oh shit, it's all true. They spent
all of it.
All of it. The studio spent all this time trying to discredit YouTubers and independent journalists and bloggers, and it turned out that it was all true. And then once people realized it was true and it was bullshit, and there was nothing they could do, then the movie kind of, declined, but not until they got that opening weekend revenue. And that's kind of what's happening with The Last of Us, in my opinion, is everybody's going to go buy it because they want to know what's up. And then once they play it, they're like, hell, don't play this game.
Yeah. And that's why you're seeing all the returns, why you're seeing the sales go off a cliff after a couple of weeks. That's why you're seeing all of that. I mean, which everybody called was going to happen. But the numbers themselves, we don't even know what's true, what's not. Like I said, they could have been like counting every pre-order, even if it was canceled. It was pre-ordered at one point in time. They could be counting a bunch of things. They could have bought their own games. We don't know.
Nope.
Because a lot of this, trust me, these companies will spend millions of dollars to fake numbers if it means they're going to make billions of dollars or hundreds of millions of dollars down the road. Of course they're going to.
Yep. So it's all about the long game. The long game, guys. So is there anything else we want to add to this?
No, I just want to say we better clarify in saying we don't have information to prove that's what they did because, I don't want anybody saying, oh, we're going to sue you. I mean, we can't prove that's what they did, but if it goes along with other industries that are in entertainment, it's a reasonable assumption that is possibly happening.
That is true. So, and then we have a little bit of an indication here from Polygon that at least Vice was contacted with concerns. So there we go. We know all the YouTubers that got struck just talking about the game, and you put it all together and you're like, yep, this is all PR spin. It's all PR spin and control all over a freaking video game.
Right.
But it's to them, it's millions and millions and millions of dollars and future dollars too.
But honestly, the way that they went about it, I think might bite them in the ass more than anything.
Just like The Last Jedi.
Yep.
All right, so we're going to wrap this one up.
Yep.
Okay, so please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, and we'll talk later.
Bye.
Hey guys, thanks for watching Clownfish TV. Please consider supporting the channel. Go to clownfishsupport.com. That's clownfishsupport.com. And if you want to join our community, go to clownfishtalk.com. That's clownfishtalk.com. Please subscribe, ring the bell for notifications. We will talk to you next time.